Welcome, boys and girls, ladies and welcome to the Lost Begotten channel. I am your host, the invisible Lost Begotten, apparently. I thought I'm somewhere. Oh, look, there I am. I'm behind the fucking radar. Ooh, look at me. Okay. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the hell it is, wherever the hell you are. I am your host, Fake TV's The Lost Begotten. Welcome to the Lost Begotten channel. Fake TV's #1 source for true, real, accurate, actual things and stuff. And apparently I am the eye of the storm. Kind of like being the eye of the tiger, only less gratifying. It's coming right for me, isn't it? Look at that. Holy shit, it's wobbling again. No, that's last night's. What am I thinking? I'm tripping out on my own fucking mess up. Hey, look. That's really professional. I could just leave it like that for a while. That's fine. No. So, last night we were tracking Harvey, and it was going nowhere quick, unlike what they, said. But this morning, it has begun to do some interesting things. It's basically doing exactly what I was talking about last night, and I'm going to take a little closer look and see if I can make my best guess of what it's going to do next. But all I can say is très bizarre. Okay, I'm gonna upload or download or side load or front load. Yeah, I'm gonna front load. Let me get my forklift and go pick up some JPEGs. Okay, what the hell? Now I have fish fighting. I hear them fighting. What the hell's going on down here? Didn't I feed y'all this morning? Oh. Okay, so last night I had kind of a scare. I had Ganju was bleeding and required assistance, and actually another one of the partial Picassos, like the D grade Picassos that I have, not the C grade Picasso or any of the like crazy premiums, but one of the ones that was in the blue tub still. Good morning, Maxwell. Oh wait, hi, other Sean. Wow. Yeah, I'm that out of it this morning. I've had a long morning. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, last night Maximo was on, and he saw the drama unfold. I found a clownfish. Ganju was bleeding, and the partial Picasso was like all beat up on top of his head, and like almost starting to bleed. And what's going on down there? I'm hearing splish splashes, like I got fish fighting. Whatever. Okay. So let me get back to doing what the hell I was doing. 8, 4, 7, and yeah. Alright, I want to get a little more zoomed in, and I'm going to drop some radar down, and so we can get a good idea of exactly what this storm is doing here. Give me a second to get the radar. I've got an ever-growing folder of GIF files from Unisys. Come on. All right. 347 and yeah, that'll do. Okay. So, first, let's just get a good, long, hard look, pardon my French, of the prevailing winds, the surrounding air masses, the beautiful Getzigatenshows going towards the Arctic Ocean up there. Yeah, that's going to be fun. I can't wait. Especially after this morning, which again I'll get into in a little while. So, what we have here is that dry air. Okay, remember the dry air that they were talking about on the the telecasts that when they were covering the weather. they were talking about the dry air going in and breaking up the storm. And, you know, they got way too happy way too soon, but it's still, you know, the storm moved a whole lot quicker this direction, and actually, we probably would have had like up to 100 inches of rain if that storm didn't come this way as quick as it did. Okay, so the other day when my wife had pity and we decided to pull it this way, that really, man, if you think the flooding was bad now, just bear in mind exactly how close those reservoirs got to toppling and breaking. I mean, they got within inches. Some of them just started to overflow. They had one levee breach that got repaired. But if it would have just been a little bit worse, y'all, imagine. A dam breaking, falling right through the center of Houston. Not to mention, like, the side that it was on, the Barker side, that would flow right into basically every old neighborhood I had. Like, I lived in a lot of areas that would have flown from one area that I used to live to another area that I used to live to another area that I used to live to another area that I used to live. Really, 4 different areas that I used to live. That water would be. That's amazing. And I wasn't thinking of that, you know, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago when I snapped my fingers and said, time for a natural disaster that meant I'm not protecting you anymore. But anyway, all drama aside, let's just look at what's going on with this air mass. That dry hook. See the dry hook that's kind of curled in? Last night I was talking about the rate at which the funnel boundary, or the front that's supposed to sweep Harvey away up to the northeast, right? And that dry air curling around through there, and the north wind pushing that funnel boundary and actually kind of dissipating it and making it lose its grip, those are going to collide at such an even rate that Harvey could be separated from what gets sucked off to the northeast. And then Harvey could be pushed south by the larger mass of dry air, which is, thanks to that north wind actually kind of intermixing with it. See how it all fogs up right there? That mix in temperatures has caused a dew point drop, which has caused that dry air to start becoming moist. Check that out. You can see it on the screen. The vapor goes crazy. That hadn't been vaporous the past few days as it was tearing Harvey apart. So, while I still hope that this is the part where I'm wrong, I haven't been wrong so far. Everybody else has been wrong, you know. But, of course, my moderators are used to that. Speaking of moderators, good morning. Good morning, Sean. Good morning, again, Maximo. Good morning, Emily. How y'all doing? Today is... Oh, I guess it's getting better. I mean, you know, happy to be doing the broadcast, I suppose. Anyways, I'll go into that in a minute. So, let's just get a closer look here. I just want to... Y'all take a moment to look at the prevailing equatorial monsoons, right? They're not shying away. See that? That moisture that they say it could develop into a tropical storm off the Yucatan in a couple of days. It's kind of getting sucked right up into Harvey. See that? So Harvey's not going to be a whole lot of help. I mean, the high pressure little Harvey dry air hook is not going to be a whole lot of help. And this little front up there, that's not going to be a whole lot of help either. It's still all very unpredictable technically at this moment. So that air mass over the Rockies there appears to be a front there. But the curling boundary that's kind of parallel with the Aleutians and going towards the coast of Canada, that's going to push that down because the north wind up there, that high pressure air from the north, it's going to squeeze between those two. So that could get chopped in half right there. And then the part that's going to be convective with the remnants of Harvey could get pushed down from that, in addition to being pushed down from the north wind. And then there's that, the only thing basically keeping it from going into the Gulf right now is that hook. Sweet. Emily's husband is playing guitar. Where's I get here? Maximo got a cool little song he put on there with his electric. Thanks for uploading that, Maximo. I thought I saw you at was that the same one that was up there? I saw one that was on there private, but I didn't get a chance to look at it. I was gonna put it on the TV, but I was gonna like ask you if I could make it public so I could put it on the TV. I won't listen to that shit on my phone. Anyways, oh, and I did get your messages. I can't log into Twitter to respond to them, but like I got like little notifications with each message, so I read those. Anyways, that sucks. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a second. Aw, dud. I don't know about a dud. I mean, I still would like to hear it first. So left-hand side with the vapors, that's 12 hours. Right-hand side with the radar is 3 hours. Past 3 hours, past 12 hours. Huh. So both of the cores are finally moving northeast. But you see one, the facing one that has made it over into Mississippi, that's moving northeast. But then that bottom one in the last frame starts to go due east again. Huh. I don't think it's done being weird yet. I mean, I'm very well aware that I might be wrong at this point. Because, I mean, eventually I have to botch, right? I mean, that's, like, okay. I considered this logical, you know, like, in developing my, you know, conscious practices as far as mental formatting goes. I came across a bunch of people who played the White Wolf role-playing games, and I borrowed a couple of the books and read them through and through because I found them fascinating. I was an exorcist, you see, and to me this was a key to demonology. I wanted to see what they were hiding in plain sight, as it were. At the time, I had some considerable psychic abilities, and I had considerable experience as a thief, a nighttime thief, someone who used to sneak around in the shadows. I was involved with a bad crowd, so to speak, when I was 10 years old. So by the time I was in middle school, I was more like the people they were reading about than one of them. So I was fascinated by the White Wolf Vampire Masquerade series because I always had these ancient memories and I wondered what I was. I wondered who I was. But I would compare myself, ability-wise, to what the D&D people, all these, you know, the people who were interested in that kind of thing, even though it was fictional to them. Some of them thought it related to Norse mythology, and, you know, some people took it way too seriously on certain levels, but it was mostly fun and games to them. I understand that. But there seemed to be some hidden knowledge in there, especially about Cain and the land of Nod, and the demonic immortals that descended from him. The Book of the Damned. It's very interesting. Now, whether you believe vampires are bloodsuckers, or whether or not they are a spiritual entity that saps spiritual energy from other people through the use of coercion and manipulation and weakening of status. It remains the case that the origin is congruent. It's concentric. It's connotic. More than just a coincidence, that's for sure. So I would take my honest, objective assertion of my abilities at the time. I didn't want to pretend to be anything beyond what I was, because I wanted to role play as myself, which is why I never really got to play any reindeer games. Speaking of red noses, I'm gonna put my face back up eventually. But yes, I never got to play any reindeer games because I didn't want to pretend to be something evil. And I was in it for the case study. I was trying to be, that's for sure. Maybe to a certain extent I was kidding myself on how much of my spirit could resist that corruption. And yes, I did consciously give up both my powers and those influences during that time period, subsequent to that time period, about when I was halfway through my 17th year. But I had filled out a noone character sheet. And 95 or 96, when I was still just a little amazing. I love the Amazing Jonathan. I'm sorry. I gotta use that whether it sounds stupid or not. Just because I love the Amazing Jonathan. Fucking priceless comedian. Probably a Satanist, but I could fix that. If he talked to me, he wouldn't be a Satanist anymore. Which is, why they suppressed my channel, because I am literally, have always been, whether or not I'm the baby Jesus, okay, I have always been the specialist in converting Satanists and Wiccans, etc. Because I don't know if you've noticed, nobody's arguments hold against mine. Anyway. But I had filled out this little character sheet. I was maybe 14, 15 years old. And when you have I don't know, anybody here who's role played, go ahead and let me know. Okay. So I know how much I need to explain to y'all. But let me just explain to a neonate. I'm trying to remember. I'm literally going through pages of text right now. Because, like I said, I don't have much experience role-playing. They have, generations. Okay, so the generation removed from Cain is a different level of power. Then they have antediluvians, which are the ones before the flood, which is the first through the fifth generations from Cain. Okay. Music is a bit too loud. Good to know. Thank you, sir. Give me 1 second. Don't need to change the color of the media. Alright, how's that? Can you still hear the music, but it's balanced now? Took away 1 bar from the sound. Alright, so as I was saying, they have different generations, right? And each generation is, you know, a little less powerful than the previous generation because it's diluted blood from Cain, who is, you know, like the vampire god or whatever. And I had a problem because usually when you're first entering somebody's game, they start you out at like 11th or 12th generation. Okay, 10 generation and they're hooking you up. Well, my natural abilities lined me up with what they considered to be a 7th generation vampire. And if I was a little bit lenient with myself, if I would just filled in a couple more dots that I thought I had every right to fill in, I would have been a 3rd generation. Okay? Now, obviously, I still hold back on this channel. Meeting me in person can be a very different thing depending on who you are. But I still don't have the power that I did when I was 15, 16. I almost got jumped because I forced someone's hands to drive their car into a canal because they drove off with my date. My date broke her arm. He was fine. The car was a Mustang, and I didn't like Mustangs at the time at all. The car was totaled, obviously. It drove into the fucking canal, didn't it? He, the following weekend, and 2 of his friends pulled up in a black Chevy Tahoe while I was sitting outside of the Coffee Bean, alone. The Coffee Bean is now, oh, I forget, it's no longer a coffee shop of any type. We were down in New Orleans the other day, and when I drove by it, I was like touristing so I could show my kids like my old stomping grounds, right? It's no longer a coffee shop at all. I couldn't even go there like for anything. It was like some kind of fucking printing company or some shit. I don't know. That's sad. It was like the best. It was the best New Orleans area coffee shop in the history of like the '90s and the good times. You know, it was the place to be. It had a place called Golden Leaves next door, which was a mystic book shop that sold incense and crystals and everything you needed to do to perform a seance of any type. Like, you know, like like a witch's closet type place. They still have the witch's closet in the French Quarter, but this was better than the witch's closet, and it was more encompassing. You know, had a lot of meditative stuff, and I think they even had like custom imported yoga mats and shit before yoga was even a thing. Um, so is the balance on the sound better? Getting on the tangent with the Coffee Bean and Golden Leaves. That was really like the place to hang out. That's where all these friends of mine that either role played or were psychics or were mystics gathered. The people that saw that role playing like had some hidden truth to it, but understood that it was just a game, but at the same time would kind of guide more of like, you know, like not guide research, but inspire research. You know, inspire the opening of one's mind. But that was the time period also in which the internet became more and more prevalent, and then Russian propaganda came in and started distracting from those questions and giving false answers to all the instincts behind them. So anyways, I forgot where the fuck I was going with this story. Why the fuck did I bring up the Coffee Bean? I really miss that place, though. I used to hang out there when I was homeless, even. Yeah, I suppose it's better that the voice is heard than the music while I'm talking. Except for when I yell at my dog right now. Anyways. So, yeah, the coffee bean. Oh yeah, the fucking story. Jeez. Pitbull looking motherfucker. I've told this story before. But if you happen to have missed it, I'll go ahead and finish. Well, this guy basically came out of his car saying, I don't know what you are, but I know what you did, and I'm not afraid of you. And, like, was threatening to kick my ass and shit. And he had his two friends with him. I just, well, I just did this. Really. And, what I was focusing on was basically injecting a memory into his head that everything he ever was afraid of, in every nightmare he ever had in his life, was me. And he got back into his truck. He pulled his friends. I don't know what. No, fuck this guy. We got to get out of here, man. You're fucking evil, man. Like he was like, you know, acting like the village people with pitchforks with what he was saying. The village people. YMC. Okay, sorry, distracted. Did I really smoke that whole fucking cigarette? God damn it. Me, bless it. What? Who? Puddin' Pops. Guys in metasm with the muscle spasm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so they, not only did he, like, pull on his friends while, like, I didn't try to remember what the fuck he was, like word for word, something that he said. Like, I think he said, like, you're the fucking Antichrist, man. You're a fucking demon. You're a fucking demon. You're evil, man. And, like, he was, like, pulling his friends back into his Tahoe. And they actually lit up the inner right tire a little bit, did a little squeal as they turned right down Severn from the Coffee Bean parking lot. Now, that was shortly before I realized, my power's gotten a little bit out of control here, and I'm not really mentally and emotionally mature enough to handle this. Um, Looking back, it's just fucking hilarious, you know? I don't know what else I'm supposed to think of that. You know, that actually happened to me. And I wonder how someone might, scientifically analyze that with, psychology and whatnot. Explain to me what happened there. Explain to me, for one, how, in view of 15 people who had informed me that Jenny Massey had driven off with Pitbull looking motherfucker, that was her name, Jenny Massey, had a sister named Elaine Massey. This shit really happened, okay? And plenty of people who know me from New Orleans will fucking verify this shit if I could fucking, find them. Um, Drew Blaylock is one of them that's fucking easy to find. The most recent one I talked to it again, but like Mike Merritt, fucking Chrissy was there. Yeah, like a lot of people I'm still in touch with actually saw this, know this to be like something that I did, you know, because I was standing up on some steps in front of the theater at the Rocky Horror Picture Show when they told me, and they were all gathered around me to see my reaction, and my reaction was just to project myself down the fucking street at them, and that's when the car went, so everybody got to see that. So, you know, they at least still take me seriously. Bye, Maximo. Have a good one. See you later. Anyways. So, when it came to the time of, you know, launching this channel, there's a vast pool of data. Like, people who have screwed me over have had very bad things happen to them. And at the point at which I let my power go, that pattern became more consistent. And I really, genuinely feel bad for anyone who is so deceived by all this fucking bullshit that they would seek to screw me over in any way. It's bad for your health. I think, you know, more so than the people who, like, had car problems right at the moment I found out something about them. I think the quintessential example would be my wife's ex-husband. I even made that finger snap, and that's all I did to affect that eventual result. I made it a conditional finger snap, based on whether or not something that I won't discuss was true. Because I didn't want to have to ask the question. But I snapped my fingers, and I said, God the Father, if he's guilty of this, he should burn. And now my wife had already filed for divorce. And divorce. And see, he was a fucking drunk piece of shit, and living out there in New Orleans, there was no way to serve him papers unless he got arrested. Basically, she would constantly check and see if he was in jail so he could get served the fucking divorce papers. And this went on for 2 years. Like, this went on from then and until we moved out here. Like, we hired the lawyer out there and moved out here. And I remember saying, and my wife will tell you, she makes jokes about this to her friends, because it's pretty well known that I do the whole predictions thing, okay? I said, you know what? And she's always sitting there checking and see if he got hit by a fucking bus or something, because he's always like drunk walking down the side of the road and shit, right? Okay. And it was on one of those conversations we were had, and I said, you know what? Stop checking. Wait till after the divorce is finalized, because like 2 weeks after the fucking divorce is finalized, and I was just joking, 2 weeks after the fucking divorce is finalized, he's gonna fucking show up dead. And I swear, 2 weeks after her divorce was finalized, we get the call. Somebody he had pissed off, and that wasn't a shortage of fucking people. Apparently where he was living, I think it was an upper floor apartment. Okay, they burned it. I don't even know with what, but he fucking burned alive. I'm trying to remember the fucking news. My wife was reading like every news story about it. She was keeping up with it because she was pissed. I mean, like, despite everything he had done to her, that's still, the father of her children. And even as much as I'm not a fan of his existence, the finger snap was still conditional. Okay? And trust me, what I'm not telling you is as bad as it gets. Okay? And if it was a prayer. It's always a prayer when I do this. Okay? And it was if a line of code logic, okay? If he is guilty of this, then this should happen to him. And then, I don't know how much months later, I made the joke. This is a long time period in which these events unfolded. But, yeah. You get what you deserve, man. That's all I'm trying to say. And it's been my historical observation throughout my life. Then when it comes to me, people tend to truly get what they deserve. That's why I say screwing me over can be hazardous for your health. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter if I'm awake or asleep. Because it's not me you gotta worry about. Remember? Because I'm just a crazy Jesus guy on YouTube, right? It's God you gotta worry about. Funny how that works, though. So, before I get to the reason for today's edition of Soapbox Incorporated, I want to read this thing that I just looked over and saw. The one thing FEMA needed to do. The one thing FEMA needed to do. I mean, they really needed to do it. Would have been fucking painfully easy. is exactly the kind of thing FEMA's supposed to be responsible for. But they were literally too busy planning a fucking photo op to notice you need to drop some high-powered generators down here. Bring them in by fucking Chinook if you have to. Priority one, the most important thing unfolding in the entire fucking disaster area, more so than any individual rescue. Oh, much more so than any individual rescue, by far. Probably even more important than fucking just... You might as well just ignore the dams. Okay, just let them go. Let it, fuck it. Who cares? They've got these chemical plants down there off of 59 as you're heading from my old neighborhood to the Katy Freeway. Like when you go up Beltway, like it's kind of like visible off the corner of the highway, kind of like off the intersection, the spaghetti roads we used to call them when I was a kid. And they've let the power go out. The backup generators got flooded. A brilliant move there, and you keep your fucking backup power generators, and you're not above water. And these gigantic vats of chemicals, one of them has already started to explode. And they say 3 or 4 more of them might too. Which could cause, like, all the shit in that whole big plant to explode. Which way back, I think in 88 or 89 or something had happened. And it was catastrophic. A couple hundred people died in a fucking flash, man. And, yeah, I remember there was like a shelter-in-place order, and they had us like duct taping our fucking houses up and shit. So, while they were planning that little photo op, instead of authorizing the deployment of the National Guard, ahead of time, pre-positioning FEMA agents to coordinate disaster response efforts, they didn't do that. And if they'd done that instead of, the photo op, one of those FEMA agents that didn't get assigned probably would have said, hey, you know those giant fucking generators that we can fly in by helicopter? Yeah, we need about 4 of them. And we need them on stilts. And then we wouldn't have a fucking chemical plant explosion. While everybody's been sitting there saying give Trump a chance or wait and see or all this bullshit, I've been saying that it's not even just incompetence or a learning curve that you're going to have to worry about. It's intentional sabotage on a constant basis. Okay? And people haven't even opened their minds up to that possibility, so they can't even see it. They're completely blind to it. But once you just fucking look at the pattern of what he's doing, it's painfully obvious. His primary objective is to assist in the Russian divide and conquer strategy against the United States. He's a traitor in every way, to his core. He even knows about the basically Russian false Jew infiltration of the right-wing media movement. He knows how deceived the racists are, and he still capitalizes on them. He's that woke, bro. I mean, he's kind of a dumbass, but he's not a complete fucking moron. That's all I'm saying. Unlike me, running out of cigarettes, continuing my broadcast. So, anyways, this morning, I made a slight mistake when I sent my complaint in, because it was a 4-hour video. But 4 minutes out of a 4-hour video, apparently, from the other day, has given me a copyright strike that isn't a copyright strike. They took down the video because of copyright reasons and told me I got a strike. And then I go and I look and it doesn't say I have a strike. But I disputed it because, you know, they've got Russian channels, some kind of Cyrillic. I caught them fucking up and I saw the Cyrillic writing on their screen. I even recorded that. That's posted on here. And many channels like them interrupting streams. They've interrupted streams from local stations. They've fucked with and harassed local YouTube channels. And they've basically somehow tunneled in between a CBS live stream I saw and a KPRC News 2 Houston live stream, and what those actual news agencies were streaming and should have been, getting monetized payment for, was being streamed through somebody else's channel, and he was getting monetized payment for it. They were getting monetized payment for it. And I actually confirmed also on that video that there were multiple channels being run by the same person who had the Russian writing, the Cyrillic writing on his screen. So yeah, isn't that special? I'm out of shorts. Oh, I know what I'll do. I'll smoke a cigar. I don't know if I can bear it. Maybe I'll just save that for later. Anyway. So this morning, I was checking my email, and I see this video, and I see another demonetized. You're demonetized for talking about Russia being behind the Benghazi cover-up and Islamic State. Being demonetized for, once again, guiding the FBI investigation, I mean, if the people in this investigation don't know my contribution, then there's somebody missing from their team who's probably been killed or something. Like that they should have interviewed at the very least from the Obama campaign, from the Obama administration, from the possibly even the Hillary campaign. Somebody used to be communicating this shit I was talking about. Communicating all my warnings. And I even saw, you know, time-dated response to when I would get fed up. Okay? So, you know, I know my message was getting out. Hell, this time last year I had a video with 77,000 views in a couple of days. And they've since then taken chunks of 20,000 views at a time from that video. So, anyways, that happened after one of the kids woke me up early. Tried to ask them to let me sleep. And then they proceeded to horse around and scream and fucking keep me from sleeping. And then, um, not too much drama at the bus stop, but that was mostly because I made it there kind of like right in the nick of time. When I got home, the little one had spilled the wet dry vac, which it is, you know, their responsibility when I need the wet dry vac to bring it to me and to dump it and rinse it. When I'm done, it's like, you know, I do all this other shit. That's one of the like the few little things that I ask them to do. And apparently they did not dump it and rinse it last time, and she knocked it over. So before I was rushing out the door to get the small one on the bus, I had to wet dry that shit. And that all unfolded while I'm reading this email about how, you know, I just can't get a fucking break. And CBS has got a copyright claim against me for a 4-minute news clip that I did commentary about. Which, you know, falls under the fucking Fair Use Act. Plain and simple. And the only reason why I'm getting shit for this is because of the truth that I tell on this channel. I mean, I hate how fucking pompous and douchebaggy that sounds, but it's fucking true. Like, you know, I'm sorry that I'm the only one who saw this shit coming way before the fucking election even started. I mean, you know, if you haven't been to my channel yet, if you're just one of the people who happen to see this, even if you're one of the agents who happens to be paid to screen this, and, you know, this channel getting shared will save the world. Okay? And I forgot to show something last night that's one of the designs I'd like to give away, because Walt Smith's words have been weighing on my heart, and I just want to go ahead and share something that I think people need to start building. Like, everybody who can build it, don't patent it, just fucking build it. It's a pretty simple device anyways. But if you haven't been to my channel, this is what I mean by I called the election in 2015. I called the hacked, rigged coup. I was warning of it, saying that basically they're going to invade by non-military means, and eventually possibly military means as well. But I was basically talking about how people were being blinded by propaganda into becoming a pro-Russian slave army. A mental slave, mental enslavement, a mental slave army. That's just a sample right there. That's a tweet that I made a while back. That I've responded to a few different things too. And it even seemed my Twitter just, you know, and you guys might be experiencing the same thing. It's just like other people with very few followers get likes based upon the value of what they say, but we don't. I don't, that's for sure. And I like to think that I'm not making a pompous boast by saying I've added some valuable intellectual contributions to the fucking stream of consciousness here. You know, I've done my part. Anyways, there was what was the other thing I was gonna fucking. Oh yeah, the designs. I'm gonna get to the design in a second. Don't let me forget. But anyways, there's a lot of things about existence itself that I would like to start teaching about, so that mankind can take the next step in their understanding of reality. And I'm not even able to teach about that because I'm being suppressed. And, you know, it's just too annoying. And they know it too. I mean, they do it to make me lose focus as well as just to keep my words from getting heard. It's going east. The storm's going east. It's going east. A little bit north. Yeah, just kind of barely north of the last hook there. There's like that one core kind of trying to go to the north. And then there's that big high pressure draft. The dry air draft. It really looks to me like that just might separate. I really think that might separate. Anyway. So, let me just take a photograph right quick, so I'm not sitting there holding up the holding up my notebook to the camera. Alright, come on. Alright. Close this so it doesn't get messed up. And where's my curd? Where's my curd? Where's my curd? Curd. Curd. I know we seen the curd. Seriously? What the fuck did that damn thing do?
Hello, Cordy Pooh. I would like to utilize you. Excuse me, Mr. Cord.
Ah. Did it get stuck in the couch? No. That is that thing. Been looking for that, but not what I was looking for now. Cord. Here, Cord. Here, Cord. Come here, Cord. Why? Why must this cord rebel? Why must you rebel against your master? Was your master not good to you? seriously. Fuck. Okay, there it is. I found it. Offended. Oh my god, offended. Okay. I'm done. That was all a build up to that moment. Just so I could say, Ermagerd, offended. Okay. I'm all jacked in now. So, how does one use this thing? Okay, there we go. Technologies! Wait, there you go. There, come here. Oh, wait. No. Crap. And then I remember the photos, for some dumb reason, save on my internal storage. At least I thought they saved on my internal storage. Well, okay, there we go. Alright, I'm just going to copy that to my desktop so nothing needs to get complicated there. And that sucks. Why did that turn right? It's not. It's upright. And now it's just turned right for no reason. Why? Okay, hold on. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just copy it right. Crop it right quick too. What the fuck you doing? Fuck you. Windows 10 sucks. Okay. Okay, now look, there's an actual thing. How about that? Okay. Let me just get above it right quick. I was up above it, and now I'm down in it. Oh, how about that? Okay. So, well, that didn't help at all. Alright. So, this is basically saltwater cured plywood. And it's designed to float in brackish or salt water. And the purpose of this is to clean the water. Not of physical debris, but of chemical toxins and pollutants. Now, the design behind this is limited by the requirement of monthly cleaning of the air stones and battery replacement. But what it doesn't need is regular collection or disposal. Because essentially, it combines two known technologies known to the aquarium hobby anyways. One is a protein skimmer, and the other is an algae scrubber. Now, the efficiency of this is going to be reduced at night, because algae doesn't grow at night, obviously. But there's not going to be a whole lot of drawback, because otherwise there's nothing doing the job to begin with. Okay. So what you're looking at here is kind of an expansion of what goes down in here. Alright. And this is a simple plywood pyramid structure with braces connecting the corners, holding floating barrels. So just empty, sealed plastic barrels to assist the flotation of the overall assembly, right? Mostly to compensate for the weight of the batteries. Now, see, I put my forehead right there. That kind of shows the protein skimmer assembly is simply made of 2.5 inch to 5 inch, or 2 inch to 3.5 inch to 5 inch, or however big it can go from there, PVC. So there's just basically a big PVC reducer opening for the collector, and one length of 3 inch wide PVC, or I'm hoping like maybe 5 inch wide, and like maybe we get like some bigger collectors at the bottom, but I don't know what the limit of PVC piping itself is. But the idea is just to make the biggest reducer possible, and another small reduction to have basically an opening about yay at the top right here. Okay. And here is a sort of a cutaway of exactly how that works. One piece going in there. That's the top square piece up there. And the air pumps and batteries get mounted to that. Okay, so when you come to maintenance the unit, you will scrape off all the algae off the sides, right? All this right here collects algae from the runoff of the protein skimmer. Okay. And this is going to be wet skimming. It's not going to be dry skimming muck. So if a wave hits it, it's not going to be releasing a bunch of toxins back into the water. And the absorbency of the algae, when built up, should kind of stave off any leaching back into the water of high amounts of waste during nighttime. When the algae isn't photosynthesizing strongly, it's still photosynthesizing a little bit if there's moonlight and starlight, and especially in industrialized areas where these things should be fucking just regular lamps and stuff, like the the lamps that you have on piers and stuff. You could put them not near that, and you'd have a little extra. But also, hair algae is absorbent, so there's going to be a trickle rate, and it's going to take a long time to flow. And even non-photosynthesizing algae is still absorbing some nutrients out of the water. So there's no point at which this isn't doing some good. Okay? And basically this is... humankind has grown to the point enough to where we basically need to consider the ocean like a fish tank. Okay? Because at this point, we're taking better care of our fish tanks than we are of the actual ocean. That's kind of fucked up. Kind of like my screen right now. My screen is kind of fucked up. But at least my fucking forehead scar isn't showing. Well, what do you even call that? My brow scar? My scabbed unibrow. Yeah, that's not showing. So anyways, there it is. Cheap as hell to build. Very inexpensive as far as, paying low-skilled people to maintain them. Algae, when collected in large amounts, has its other uses, including being, a bioorganic substrate suitable for decomposing into flammable chemicals like biodiesel, Damn it, did I smoke the rest of that last cigarette? Dumbass. So, here it is. The bubble scrubber. And if you want to test out how efficient that would be, you just need to build one and set it in an aquarium. Keep some lights over it and see what the rate of wet skimming can provide for the algae scrubbing. And in the ocean, this is going to be designed to where the waves are going to lap up on it. Alright? So, bear that in mind if you want to experiment with it. I think the best way to do it would just be put it in the ocean and see if it makes bubbles. If it's making bubbles and those bubbles are going across algae, you're cleaning something. And in the event of a catastrophic algae bloom, somebody could always go around and add collection cups to them temporarily. But even left to their own devices, the built-up hair algae will strain. And that's built-up hair algae not just from the runoff of the collection cup. That's built-up hair algae from the waves that are going to be, sloshing on top of this thing and spattering this thing. It's basically designed to be like a rock on a pier, just like a rock that would grow algae from having water splashed on it throughout the course of a day. Just let a protein skimmer run down that. Why a protein skimmer? Because it's the easiest way to pump the most polluted concentrate water and uses the lowest voltage. A little air pump always uses less voltage than a water pump. So, anyways, feel free to comment once this video is posted, and I'll try to reply to any questions you might have. There's not many people watching as far as what it's telling me that anybody's watching right now. But of the concepts that I have as far as industrial level cleaning of ocean ports as well as river mouths. Okay. This is probably the cheapest and most effective and the first thing we need to be doing. The only thing I think remains to be experimented with on this design is whether or not to add a non-dense foam pre-filter so that the skimming won't be interrupted by physical debris. Because otherwise you might have shit wanting to go move up there, you know? It'd be kind of hard to protein skim when you got like a crab in there. That's all I'm saying. But they should be floating to where it's going to be, you know, a crab would have to climb from a pier that it's tied to with a rope. It would have to climb across a rope or something to get to it. But the idea is to tie these together and have them float in rows or even grids, like a checkerboard grid, and use them by the dozens. And, you know, about 40 of these per river mouth, and maybe 100 per ocean port, per major port, okay, in different places, you know, little groups of 20. Well, I mean, strum patterns can be fucking important. You gotta get that shit right. And, you know, you can listen to this broadcast later. Anyways. Ooh, look, I have gum. Maybe I'll try some gum while I get a cigarette. So, do that. And for basically every 100 that you put, you're lowering the effects of pollution by 1%. I mean, this is that effective. It's a fucking protein skimmer, for fuck's sake. Protein skimming and algae scrubbing are the two most efficient, effective methods of filtration known to the aquarium hobby. Okay? The best of the best use them for a reason. And seeing as how the other obvious limitation is battery, there's another very obvious and easy solution to that problem. First of all, if you have them in a grid, you can link them up together. So you could have one unit off to the side or centralized, depending on how big the floating structure was, if you would want it somewhat centralized. One unit just to float the batteries. Okay? Yeah, it's obviously, yeah, very good, Sean. It's designed like a buoy. I mean, you could just let that thing go like a buoy. Okay, well, I'm just adding more practical ideas than the obvious. But with the batteries, independently, that one thing right there, what you're looking at, that's a buoy. Okay? You link them together, and you got more power, right? But there's like, for instance, the place I used to fish in Brays Bayou in Houston. There's a little lagoon. It's got kind of like a little rotating current in it, like a little whirlpool, because it's like a circle off of the bayou, so it floats. Put one of those in there, tie a rope to it, just let it float, tied to the rope, okay? And, you know, if you can tie a rope to it, you don't need batteries, do you? That's why. I think the biggest benefit of not just letting it loose is not only, you know, buoys get destroyed and stuff like that, but if you link them together, if you keep them by piers, if you keep them where they're needed, you can just run a wire to them. You can run a wire to a central distribution buoy that runs wires to all the other ones, so that, you know, like one wire won't break at all, right? But like I've said in previous videos, the phosphates and the nitrates are what make corals sensitive to temperature changes. But you're not going to go out there in the ocean and test and get accurate results on phosphates and nitrates because of the phytoplankton. By the time you test some water that you'll pull out of the ocean, phytoplankton has consumed the phosphate and nitrates. So you're not going to detect the problem. You're just not going to do it. In addition to that, on that Chasing Coral video, the documentary, they didn't seem to notice the obvious answer to what happened to their automated cameras. Why does a camera lose focus in the ocean? What's the only reason why a camera would lose focus in the ocean? After it was set manually, the focus was no longer good, okay? Salinity. The density of the lens, okay, being the water, the density of the water had changed. And that's what ultimately killed those corals. Salinity plus the weakened state from the phosphates and the nitrates. See, when you keep aquariums, you know that most of the things that you have can take one factor changing at a time. Okay? If you keep your nitrates and phosphates at a good level and you keep your salinity at a good level, you can handle pH swings. If you keep your pH steady and you keep your nitrates and phosphates at a good level, you can handle salinity swings. If you keep your salinity and your pH constant, guess what? You can handle high nitrates and phosphates. Your corals won't be stressed enough to succumb to the encroaching hair algae. Oh, that's kind of how my reef tank runs right now. But I have 50 clownfish and about 100 gallons, so, you know, I do what I can. But I use marine buffer in my top-off water to keep my pH steady artificially, so that those corals aren't susceptible to the other things that are wrong with my tank. Protein skimmer? Yeah, I mean, a protein skimmer is no replacement for micron filtration, you would still want to boil it. But as far as all, like, anything that grows algae, any kind of just pollutant that grows algae in a water that turns water green, okay? After it's turned green, those complex amino acids that absorbed and made algae and shit out of those chemicals, those are what gets sucked up by protein skimming. So, dead phytoplankton, dead algae, decomposing fish guts, fish poo, fish whatever, it all just bubbles right out through a protein skimmer. Remember when I got my new Seaside Aquatic skimmer, how excited I was and how much clearer my water got. At least I've said my water got clear. I don't know if y'all can tell from the videos, but and that thing, for instance, that makes about a cup of water a day. Okay, it's a Seaside Aquatics EP4, like the newest hang on the back skimmer that they've made, the one that's 4.2 inches wide instead of just 4 inches wide on the back of the tank. And it's nice. I love it. I mean, I love the damn thing. But you apply that technology to river mouths, to marshes, to grasslands, and to ports where you have a regular amount of petroleums and fertilizers and all kinds of shit from the city or surrounding it. And you have what? What happens as a result of that? What color does the water turn usually? Fucking green, right? Well, that's an algae bloom. That's a phytoplankton bloom. Okay? And that phytoplankton has a life cycle. So it winds up going from green to brownish green on a constant basis, right? Depending on the temperature of the day and whatnot. But if you have the decomposing side of the phytoplankton being absorbed by the protein skimmers, and then being the nutrients taken up by the algae that's remaining above the surface of the water, and of course what is submerged on that platform is going to be nice and high in the water. It's going to get lots of sunlight, so algae is going to grow on it. I mean, it's a fucking floating algae scrubber. If you just floated blocks of wood to grow algae on, and the blocks of wood got splashed on, you'd already be filtering the water. Okay, that's how algae scrubbers work, and they work pretty damn well. But this takes out concentrated algae food and lets it pour across the top of the pyramid. Okay, and as it would flow down, it would bubble over right here. Okay, and just spread out over here. And as this thing waved, it would a little spill this way, a little would spill this way. Savvy? Okay? And then that has to flow down a shallow angle and then a steep angle. See the shallow angle and then the steep angle. So it comes down here and then comes down there. And while it's rocking back and forth, you know, that gets knocked this and that way, and maybe some of it will trickle down there and get in the water a little bit before it's totally cleaned. But it's about ease of construction, ease of operation, and low cost. Okay? Most protein skimmers are expensive because they're made of acrylic. But it's, you know, if you want to build a large protein skimmer that doesn't do much fancy shit, you know, you don't need it to adjust the sump level, you don't need it to have like a adjustable flow rate, you're not trying to keep a reef tank perfect, you're just trying to help the ocean. Okay? You don't need to go all out. Throw some fucking bubblers on a PVC pipe, float it on some wood that can grow algae, and you are helping the ocean. So, that's what I do here on this channel. I try to help. Anyways. So, anybody else have any more questions about the bubble scrubber? Anybody else else have any more questions about what the weather's actually going to do? So, sorry for chewing gum. I'm out of cigarettes. And my nerves are bad because I'm just constantly getting fucked with on this channel. Just trying to tell the truth that could save the world. You know, nothing big. Nothing too important. Nobody needs to know. Oh, yeah. Before I go, I'm going to take another look at the radar. And if it's interesting, I'm going to download it and put it on the screen. Oh shit, it happened. It broke through. Okay, so give me 1 second, I'm going to put this on the screen. That's not the right folder. I keep on wanting to be wrong about Harvey, and I keep failing to be wrong about Harvey. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Really? You believe that? HARP is a radar array that guides THAAD missiles. What would HARP have to do? Oh, you've been watching Russian propaganda. Oh. That's called drinking the Kool-Aid. I suggest you lay off. Welcome to the Lost Begotten channel, where you'll get actual information on such subjects. High altitude array radar penetration. That's what HARP is. The government story was just a cover story to begin with. So, like, all the speculation based on that is crap. But anybody who knows anything about radio antennas and how they work and what they do and what you can do with them, take one look at HARP and tell you what it does. It is a passive aerial radar. The Russians have had them for a long time. We built one and they launched a propaganda campaign to complain about it. So, congratulations. You've turned your nose up at the truth, I suppose, because I see now one person less is watching. Suit yourself. I'll just stay here and actually know things. You can be satisfied with having bullshit covering your eyes. It's your prerogative. We all just have to suffer for it. We all have to suffer because you're naive and easily misled and think that Harvey, that's what this guy just said. He says Hurricane Harvey was controlled by HARP in fucking Alaska. Because that's where HARP is. It's in Alaska. It's designed to keep an eye on fucking Russian bombers and launch THAAD missiles against ballistic missiles. Its main job is keeping an eye on North Korea right now. But what do I know? I'm just right about everything. You can pick and choose one little thing and pretend I haven't already proven it, and hold your little infant ears and sing la 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 la, I'm not listening. Meanwhile, Harvey's done exactly what I said it was gonna do. Okay? All the weather people were wrong, and I was right. And I still think Harvey's gonna do something that I don't think it could do. Like, I have this feeling, but it does not make logical sense, even though I can make a little bit of logical sense to it. Every time I make logical sense of it, it just kind of disturbs me anymore, and I want to say, la la la, I'm not listening. But you know what? I have this thing called wisdom. So even when I don't want to hear something, I open my mind to it. And I objectively ascertain whether or not it is true. But then, you probably think that Hillary Clinton let Benghazi happen so the Muslims could take over. So, yeah. You're on a level at which I could not shout to. So, let me get these two guys up. Get that one off of there. And here we go with the latest weather loops. And not my screen getting messed up. Okay. Alright. So, as you can see, the scenario in which I predicted last night and mentioned a little while ago on this broadcast seems to be coming true. And that is the hook of dry air and just give me 1 second, I'm going to pull up a wider satellite image, 12-hour loop. The hook of dry air has basically separated the part of Harvey that was getting pulled up to the northeast. So now it could very well be up in the air once again where the hell Harvey's going to go. So let's take a look-see at this. Alright. So it's a little more definitive on radar how that band of rain starts to dissipate. So maybe I will pull up the national radar and see if we can see what's happening in the rest of that band. Oh yeah, it's the dry air has separated Harvey from that front. Wow. This is getting special. I really don't want to, like, I was happy, like, you know, tooting my own horn and using this as a cry out for help with my mission to save the world and whatnot. But at this point, I would really like to stop being right and not have Harvey reform right on top of me. That'd be cool, you know? See, if you look where that hook of dry air blasted in. It has started to do at least started to do what I said it was going to do last night, which is take this moisture and cut it in half. So you can see on this zoomed in radar view, I mean, who these guys are. On this zoomed in radar view in the middle, see at the top of it, in the last frames, that big band of showers dissipates. That's because that dry air has hooked around and met the north wind head on. So, here you can see it zoomed out. You see that big band of showers dissipates, and here's why. That dry air comes in, but look from the beginning of the clip, from the top of the screen. You can see the north wind coming down on the vapor, and right as it smashes into that front, the front that's supposed to be carrying Harvey away, ooh, look, it makes a face right before it smashes in. Face. And then that's where the radar shows the storm dissipating. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So now, in addition to this, we have, and I'll go ahead and update this one again too. I'm going to do the whole hemisphere. Give me 1 second. I know, time's up, smartass. There. So here's the last radar, the last quote-unquote satellite. The last dirigible network view of the enhanced infrared cloud cover, or infrared enhanced cloud cover map, showing a 12-hour loop. And you have definitely a high pressure ridge coming down from the north. But what will it do other than, in addition to the dry air hook, what will be the effect on Harvey, which is essentially going to get cut off from that trough, and then only the high pressure above it will be pushing down, and then you have Harvey, a low pressure system, in the middle of that dry air hook, which will basically become a circular high pressure system with a very weak side on one side. But to the south of that, you have the area of low pressure developing, which is actually now feeding Harvey, and is the reason why this morning they were predicting extreme amounts of rain in Tennessee and Kentucky and West Virginia. And you can see that right there. I just picked up my lighter and looked over for a cigarette. God, I didn't have any. Okay. All these packs are in here. Keep them there just to torment myself, apparently. Alright. So, anyways. Hi, Tiger Lily. I think it's time for me to call it a broadcast. And, we are going to be keeping a close eye on Monsieur Harvey. And we're going to see what else he does today. Because it ain't over till the fat lady sings. And I ain't heard no fat lady. So, that's going to be all for now. I guess we'll catch up on some news later. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for hanging out and chatting. Please click the like button and, you know, click the little thumbs up thing, the like button, last I checked. Make sure you're subscribed. If you are a subscriber, check your subscription. Bye now.
It takes my pain back to praise out of another thing. I know, I know, it's in my heart.